Well, I finally accepted that I'm never going to find a first-party second controller for the NES Classic, so I finally broke down and bought a third-party option, the Edge Gamepad. I actually thought it was an officially licensed controller at first, but it turns out it is not an officially licensed controller. It's just some random controller. Now that I've actually spent a little bit of time with it, it's actually a pretty solid controller. While not quite up to the level of the first-party Nintendo one, it certainly will make do for a second-player option. And having played a bit of it, some of the more complex games like Contra and Mega Man 2, I found that it really made no difference to how bad I was at the games. So with that in mind, I can recommend that this is a totally adequate second controller. You're not going to want to replace your first-party Nintendo controller, unless of course you can't sit close enough to the actual NES Classic itself, because this one has a wonderfully long 9-foot cord, which is more than adequate, unlike the 2.5-foot cord which is included with the official NES Classic controller. This controller does have a couple bells and whistles that the traditional controller does not. It's got these 2 extra buttons on it, one of which is the B plus A button, which just enables you to press B and A simultaneously. It's a totally superfluous button. The real selling point is the very retro turbo button, which was all the rage way back when. This enables the controller, you can choose either B or A, only one button at a time, and then it's equivalent of just hammering on the button without having to hammer on the button. It's kind of an archaic option, and I didn't really find any significant use for it in the games I tried with the pad. And it's one of those little bonus features that gives the controller actually that I think actually gives the controller kind of a retro charm, because there was a lot of this kind of stuff available back when the NES was popular. The buttons themselves are actually very responsive. They're a bit clunky. You can hear they're a little louder than the NES buttons, but in a pinch, you're not going to notice a difference, and when you're actually, hammering away on the buttons playing Mega Man, you're not going to be thinking about the slightly louder buttons. The select and start buttons do feel noticeably different than the NES Classic, in that when you press them, they become flush with the controller itself. They're a little shorter, but given how rarely you press the select and start button, you're not really going to notice, and honestly, they're still just as effective, so it's not a big deal at all. I would say the real selling point of this controller, other than the fact that it's a second controller, is that it comes with this little cheat code book. The book itself is actually a little light on cheat codes, but it does claim that it's about tips and tricks. This actually really reminds me of what it was like way back when I had, subscriptions to Nintendo Power and Game Pro and EGM and all those magazines that have vanished from the earth. And thumbing through this brings back that nostalgic feel. And when you're playing the game, looking for little tips in a magazine actually adds to that feel that you get, that retro feel. It gives an authenticity to the whole experience of playing the NES Classic. I would say it's a safe bet. This is your best option for a second controller for the NES Classic, unless you actually have enough luck to find a legitimate first-party second controller. But given the little cheat book and the kind of retro feel that the buttons provide, I think this is actually a worthy addition to your collection if you're using the NES Classic a lot and want to play with a second player. This is absolutely the way to go. I'm Ryan Cave, and this is Cognizant Gamer.